Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Lifting Yer Spirits, where I make a cocktail for my guest. My guest Freddie is an absolute superstar. She's very intelligent. We had some wonderful conversations about religion and spirituality and meditation and kind of positive and negative bias. So listen, Freddie's an absolute legend on this, and we have some really deep conversations about stuff that matters while drinking an autumnal cocktail. Enjoy.
Excuse me, where can I get myself a drink?
Hello everyone and welcome to a wee vlogcast of The Wandering Barman. I'm going to make a drink, show you how to make it at home, and then I'm going to give it to my very special guest who's waiting for me on the West Wing. This cocktail is an inspiration from a barkeeper that I used to work with, Mr. Windhorst. He has a bar up in Friedrichstrasse, and you should go check it out. And I'm just going to get right ahead and make it. What we need is our shaker. And this is a gin-based drink, so we need 50 mils of gin. That's 40, and then we half fill our 20 miller. Boom, there we go. I always like to use a jigger. It keeps things simple, it keeps things standardised. My cocktails are always going to taste the same. Now we need our vermouth. Oh, I love that sound. And we are just going to put in 20 mils of vermouth. Now, I'm using a rosé vermouth. I find it less acidic and much less sweeter, obviously, than the sweet vermouth. It also gives it a nice colour. Speaking of colour, the main ingredient for this beast is a homemade beetroot and thyme sugar syrup. The recipe is going to be in the link down below. Now, this is a 2-to-1 sugar syrup, so we don't need a lot, right? It's going to give this all the flavour, it's going to give it all the sweetness, and it's going to make it all autumnal, which is exactly what we're after. So we just need 20 mils of that. Now, the thing that we need to do when we use anything sweet or sugar, as you probably well know, is we need to balance it out with citrus. So, what we need is always, and guys, you've been watching me for long enough, you know it's always fresh. Never buy the store-bought stuff. We need our fresh lemon. And we're going to put in 20 mils, the same amount of sugar, right? So 20 mils from my professional barkeeping experience is usually half a lemon. So we put that aside. And then comes a lovely special ingredient. A lot of people would put egg white in a drink to foam it up and to give it kind of viscosity and a really healthy mouthfeel. But I'm not going to use egg white. I'm going to use this stuff called Aquafabe. And some of you might know, but some of you might not. Aquafabe is like a really wanky, douchey, pretentious term for chickpea juice. That's all it is. It's chickpea juice. You buy a can of chickpeas, you drain out the chickpeas, you make some nice hummus with it. What you're left with is this, and this acts exactly the same. It behaves the same way as egg white, but it's suitable for vegans. Why wouldn't you use it? So we're going to put in about 15 to 20 mils of that. And because that's basically protein that we're using, it needs to be dry shaken. So we need to make it react with everything else that's going on in the drink, the citrus and the sugar. So we give it a nice dry, hard shake. That should do it. It's already nice and foamy in there. And then we add our ice. So we just have to kind of... Lots of ice, and you guys also know, oh my God, this is the ice we're looking for. This beautiful, cloudy stuff that doesn't melt. None of your fucking stuff that you have in your freezer, then your little trays and you twist and you break. It's going to destroy your drink in seconds. This is what you're looking for. So we go in and we give it a big old shake, right? Nice and hard to get the foam. So, and I'm going to, nice glass, a nice coupe glass. And what we need to do is we're going to double strain this. We like to double strain it just because it's kind of got some of that foam. We don't keep some of it behind. Look at this. Look how velvety that looks. All right. Give that a little jiggle. Now that is something that you want. And then all we do is we just add a tiny little bit of thyme just on top. Nice dried thyme. And that's just going to sit there nice on the glass. Now look at that. How can you not want that? Look at the beauty on that. Look at the foam. Look at the colour. And that taste is going to be so autumnal that you're just going to always want to see dead leaves in your life. That's all it's going to be. So I'm going to take this through. I'm going to introduce you to my absolute amazing guest. So this woman is an extremely good friend of mine. She's a fantastic writer, a fantastic comedian, and some of her performances are legendary here in Berlin. There you go, Freddi. Enjoy.
Excuse me, where can I get myself a drink?
What do you think, man? I would love to hear your opinion.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
I'm just sitting here like fucking...
It's like...
Please say hi.
It's so interesting because it looks like really like girly and sugary, but it's actually like, I think it's the thyme maybe?
The thyme.
And the beetroot is also quite earthy, I guess.
Absolutely.
So, and the gin is quite, I don't know, it's like a clean...
Clean earth?
Yeah. Clean
Right,
earth.
okay.
That sounds like a deodorant. Like
Or like, what's her name again? Grettenberg? Little activist.
Oh,
Greta Thunberg, that's the one. Let's call it that.
Yeah, let's call it the Grettenberg.
Clean earth. Sustainability. Welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. This is my wonderful guest, Freddi, writer, comedian. What have you been up to lately in these beautifully, in this situation, light but dark times out there?
Yeah, it's going to be dark really soon.
Yes. But,
Well, first of all, thank you for letting me drink alcohol because I made a pact with my meditation coach that I wouldn't drink alone during lockdown, so I got out of it.
Nice.
And it's been good because there were a couple of nights, when things weren't going so well, I was a wee bit lonely, and I was like, oh, should I go out and get a little Späti red wine? And I didn't.
Okay.
And I'm glad because one time I did, and I got sad immediately.
What, did you drink a whole bottle? Was it just
No.
one glass?
One time I just had like one glass of white wine. It's hard to say. Like maybe I was just kind of down. It would have happened anyway.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
But there's like a melancholy that comes from alcohol sometimes that is not from within.
Well, sure. It's not. It's definitely a depressant. Like no one can deny that. Mm-hmm. So it can bring you down. But my kind of personal idea of alcohol is like a lot of people will blame alcohol for something, right? And they'll be like that. I'm a dick. I done something really stupid last night.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, that's not the alcohol. That's just you.
That's your personality that got bigger through
exactly.
alcohol.
Alcohol's like an enhancer of whatever is going on inside you.
But so if I'm like sad and I'm like, oh, let's have some heavy wine because that's gonna make it better.
No, it's not. Yeah. It's not. It's gonna make you terrible. Yeah. But
so that's like a good description of what I've been up to. It's been very up and down. I have literally nothing to do. I'm starting to have some projects now. I'm also working on a podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been a lot of days. I'm doing home renovation. Yeah.
Okay. Are we painting?
Yeah, I'm trying to do my bathroom, but I'm so bad at it. I know I'm so not.
What does do the bathroom mean?
Well, I wanted to paint it, but the wallpaper was shitty, so I was like, I'm gonna do it properly. I'm gonna take off the wallpaper and do it, replaster it.
Yeah.
And it the walls are just so old and shitty that I'm like, oh, I have no idea how to do this because I have to really put plaster on the wall and so now I'm like, oh, this is way too big for me. So I'm I found a cheap student that might help me.
Oh, really? A cheap student might help you. I just had images. I had an 80s montage going on in my head there of you in kind of white denim dungarees with bits of paint in your hair and a scraper.
Yeah.
And just going, damn it! this isn't how the movies are.
I know.
You know?
And it's like so tiny. I was like, oh, this is gonna be like a 2-day project. My bathroom has been like in that state for like 3 weeks now. So.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Have you been?
Also, who cares?
Well, I care.
Yeah. Wow.
I want to know how you're in it. I care a little bit.
Yeah.
I care what you're up to.
Okay.
And if that's what you're up to, then I care about that.
Yeah.
Have you been writing throughout the past like 6, 7, 8 months, like kind of rigorously, like you normally would be if you're always performing and always on the go?
I did perform a good amount while the shows were going again in the summer, so I did write a lot of new stuff there, and I did a couple of like short videos that I taped at home during the first lockdown.
I saw that.
Not so much now, but that was like my outlet, and it was really fun to do also video because it's like you can show different things and you can narrate in a different way just because you play with images, or I can play with my clothes more, which I wouldn't do on stage, for example.
Yeah, so I totally agree with that. What I liked about your videos is you had these little interludes, the black and white footage of people clapping and stuff in the audience. And I
So dumb.
I loved it. It was like that. She's hanging on. She's missing so much, and it's so true. Like I wanted to do a sketch for part of the Wandering Barman live stream where it was just like a little video, and I'd just be like, someone would come in, the camera would come in, and I would just be like going through, you know, you get these like free sound effects libraries, and I would just be going like applause, just going through applause, like, because there was loads of different versions
Like
you could
to
have.
fall asleep.
Yeah, totally. Just to come out of the room like, I mean something. It was like there was like 10 people in a room, then like 200 people, then like big theatres.
So what was your favorite?
I kind of like the little intimate one. Yeah, I kind of like the little.
Sure.
I've never really experienced like standing ovations and stuff.
Well, you can dream.
Absolutely. I think reality was stepping on those dreams.
Oh god.
And that is the worst thing for a dreamer to happen for reality. So, okay, cool. So, have you done any kind of what? I just kind of wanted to ask quickly what your views are in general on like kind of corporate stuff. I know that like performers get a lot of requests to do corporate stuff during this time of year, kind of November, December, January. They're trying to.
Yeah, I think I did. I mean, I didn't get requests this year also because I think I wasn't really out there so much, but I did one corporate gig last year, which was literally the worst moment of my life.
So what happened? Do you mind just talking me through it?
I was reminded of it the other day, and it was just like, it just brings panic attacks back. It's like so bad. It was like a tech startup kind of thing.
They're all like IT shit, aren't they?
I know, and then I'm like, and like the woman, it was like through a connection in the comedy world, and she was like, no, it'd be great if it was a woman. And then I was there, and I was like, it shouldn't be a woman because it's only guys in the room, and it's just like, it's just not fun. I mean, like Carmen could do it because she works in a startup world and she like knows it, but like the worst thing was more like I came in and it was like, yeah, you know, come in like half an hour early, and then they'll be finishing up their meals, and then you can like go on stage. And I came in there and they were like, well, actually we're ready now. Could you just like go on stage straight away?
So this
and I was like,
was this before food or after?
I didn't have food, but I wasn't there. No, after food.
After food.
But I think they were just like so scared that people would like go home. That's why I was like the entertainment, so people would leave immediately because they love hanging out with their coworkers so much.
Exactly. So, yeah.
And so I was like, sure. I mean, like normally you like 5 minutes maybe to like settle down, like go through things in your head, but never mind. I got like a glass of water, and then they were like, there was like this tiny little stage with a microphone that was all good. And then they were like, oh, and by the way, we don't have anybody to bring you on. Could you just like go on stage yourself and just like start talking and like interrupt?
Hello, guys. Excuse me.
Give it up for me, because you've been not waiting for anybody to.
And that's not even applause of like, hey, I'm Freddi.
They're just like,
that's like applause. Like, can I get your attention?
Yeah, it's just like, who are you? What are you? I'm sure nobody knew that there was like entertainment planned.
So yeah, so this is like, I've done a few of these things as well, and I've got a little bit of a get out clause because I've got the cocktails to hide behind.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, and if I'm giving people free shit,
like that's like interesting in itself.
Well, it's interesting because there's a little bit of education at least.
Yeah,
but what I feel that I can do with that is justify why I'm there. So
Yeah.
I get that out the bag immediately.
Totally.
So I'm like, guys, I get it. Like, most of you probably don't want to be here. Within that, there's probably a bunch of people that don't even drink. Within that, even if you do drink, you probably hate cocktails. And within that, you probably fucking like, why is there a comedian here? So out of 100 people, there's like 10 people that are probably thinking that this is a cool thing. The rest of you are looking at me going, this guy's a loser, right? And I'm like, I get that. And if you're not interested, it's all good. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to be offended. I don't care. Go up, stand and walk and shit. But it's a bit different if you're just doing strictly stand up.
Totally. And like I did do like crowd work in the beginning, and it was like okay, but like I did want to do my material because I'm not that great at crowd work that I could have done like half an hour of crowd work. I don't know.
Well, that's
and I was also like thrown into it so much, like I don't know, it was just like so out of my crowd. I was like, ugh.
No one was laughing.
And like it was just like, I mean, they did like the crowd work more, but then I got into the material, and it was, I don't know, I don't have like a lot of jokes about like corporate jobs and techie stuff. I talk about my vagina, and I was just like, oh, it was, like how long has it been, guys? And then the worst thing was that, like, the table that was, like, literally, like, a meter from me from the stage, there were two guys who were just, like, talking loud, nonstop. And the problem is, like, in a comedy show, you can be like, guys, could you please shut the fuck up? Because you came here, you paid to be here to see some comedy, but these guys didn't ask to for me to be there at all. So I couldn't even say, I mean, I did say something in the end, but I felt like such a loser. And honestly, I finished my set, and I think it took me like 90 seconds to be outside on the streets. I was just like, bye. I had the money in my bank account before I even started, so that helped.
Oh yeah, nice.
And the woman who like hired me, it was like her last day of work anyway, so I had like no obligations to her. It was just like so.
Dude, some of them have been absolute hell, because it's the way they treat you. It's the way it's the way the corporate world kind of treats you, you know.
They're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, but my go-to for when someone is like really talking loudly in the front is to kind of make them feel guilty because the people around them can't like understand, can't hear you. Yeah. So I mean, this wouldn't really work at a corporate gig, but like if you're at a kind of normal stand-up gig, I'm always like, guys, if you guys don't want to be here, can you, like, I don't mind if you go, or just be quiet, just for the sake of the 5, 6, 7 people around you that actually are interested.
But you're immediately being like a teacher in front of a class. As soon as you like address any kind of problem in the setup, it's just like not fun anymore. I feel.
It is. You know, you're right. It is.
It's very difficult to do it like in a charming way.
I see. I've essentially been a babysitter for 12 years working in a bar, so I've kind of got that slight advantage because it's
but they don't have to pay attention at a bar. They can do whatever they want. I suppose within reason, but like when you've got like homophobia and racism happening in your bar, you've then got to like babysit them. Actually, that's like a question I wanted to ask you, because I mean, like a lot of horrific stories start with, so I was at a bar getting drunk, and then we hear the story, but you know, we just hear them from the perspective, or like especially like women at bars maybe, and then I'm like, oh, but you're the guy who's like there and like sees a lot, or I don't know, like, I mean, you are also at bars that are like quite busy, like and so I don't really know if like obviously you don't see anything, but you must have been witness to a lot of like either awkward, horrifying, or just like undignified behavior.
Absolutely. So.
And when are you going to write a book about it?
Volume 1. So when you're a barkeeper, you've got a general good overview of everything that's going on. Not only are you most likely the most sober to an extent point, but you've got a good, you know, most of the conversations that are taking place. You're constantly looking. So I'm talking about in a bar that can maybe fit 30 people, right? You definitely know everything that's going on. You can sense if there's tension going on over here. It's basically crowd work, and there's some situations that take precedence, you know, like over others. Like if fucking some girl comes to you drunk and she's like, that guy fucking touched my ass, you know, and you're like, you basically just go up to the guy and go, dude, you have to go, man. Like this isn't really up for debate. she says you've kind of like touched her inappropriately, or kind of you've been too sleazy or whatever, man, just go, man. And then they usually go pretty easily, and that's like on like a pretty hard scale when you're dealing with that stuff, right? Because that's up there with like racism, homophobic shit.
Yeah.
Any of that stuff, you're just out. But there was this one time that I was working. I won't go into too much detail about it because it's probably won't interest a lot of people. But I lost. It's all about having control in the bar. You're the person. It's all about control. And there was only one time in my 12 years of working behind the bar that I completely lost control. So much so that I had to call the police. And there was like 12 coppers that came down to try and fix this situation. Wow. Basically, it was all the most macho, misogynist, patriarchal shit that you've ever seen, man. So it was like fucking, what do they call it? It's like Vaterstag or something? No, Männertag.
Yeah.
In Germany, yeah, Man Day. I'll never forget it. It was on this day, and essentially it's like guys with their bros going around like Berlin, Germany, whatever, with their crates, literally holding crates of beer, walking down the street, taking them out and just getting drunk on beer.
Yeah.
So this guy comes in, he's huge, and he's like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Scotland." He's like, "Fuck you, you don't deserve to be here," and all this kind of stuff. Then two other guys chimed in, and they were so big and so aggressive that they had, at one point, the rest of the bar, which was about 12 people, 13 people, like, at the other side of the room, because no one wanted to leave because they didn't want to pass by these like huge aggressive guys. And I was like, and then they were getting so aggressive, I was like, I've lost complete control. Music off, lights on, call the cops, and they're like, "Yeah, you call the cops, I'll fuck you up, I'll come back here every day."
But it was also because they threatened you personally, right?
Yeah.
Because that doesn't happen a lot, probably.
No.
It's more like amongst...
No, and even then, if it had happened with them to other people, I would have probably done the same thing. I would have done the same thing, no probably about it. Yeah. So that was the only time that I completely lost control. But on a lighter note, it's a mental situation to be in when the bar that you're working in is essentially a little stage, and you just have to kind of keep everything. You have to keep everything flowing. Make sure your music's okay. You want to know the room. You want to know your crowd. You don't want to be sitting playing some heavy metal Pantera when it's a Sunday evening. You don't want to be playing
Lots
that
of
anyway.
girls in cute outfits.
Yeah. There's a lot of people like drinking nice cocktails and stuff, and you're like, it's not going to like. You have to kind of find your groove, But so I just wanted to touch on something that we have discussed over burgers and tipsiness. More than once, I would like to say. But you've got a very interesting background in that you come from quite a religious Christian background until quite, I'd say maybe a late-ish point in your life. I was wondering if you might like to delve into that, because I've kind of got little personal opinions on faith and religion.
Oh, do you then? Do you? That's really unusual. People are normally fine with religion.
People are usually like, "What's that? I don't know what that is."
Jesus, bring him on.
Yeah, totally. So I don't know. Like, you were involved in it through family or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you jumped out. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. Like my dad's a Baptist pastor, and I grew up in Sierra Leone because there were missionaries there, so I was quite deep into it. Even though my parents are quite liberal, but I was definitely brought up in it. And then in my 20s, I took it to a next level, and just like I was like a born again Christian, and went to a lot of different groups and founded my own little church with friends. It's like very like cool alternative. I always hasten to add, like, because I'm like terrified of people thinking I'm uncool. No, even as a Christian, I was like really cool. I had like a blonde streak in my hair.
Okay, now we're talking. No. All right, I get you.
It's like emo Christian kind of. Emo
Christian. Oh, I want to go to that section of the record shop. Oh, hit me up.
Oh my God, there's so much. There's so much like hardcore Christian music, because like all the straight edge people, they're also like very, into like no alcohol, no sex. So there's like a big overlap. Okay. So there are like a couple of cool Christians. I joined them.
So but you created your own little church?
Yeah. I studied in Leipzig before. I moved to Berlin, and it's a movement called Jesus Freaks in Germany. It's like kind of underground alternative, but it's still like very much the Bible is true, and no sex before marriage. I mean, not everybody was as strict about it as I was. I don't know. I just wanted to just be really good at it.
Okay.
So I stuck to all the rules.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's like the most unfortunate, development of OCD. I mean, get me in any other situation would have been fine. Like, I want to be really good at anything else, but not life has given me this, so I'm going to be really good at it. I like that though. It's a good way.
Well, the opposite of being really good at something is that you can look down on people who aren't as good as you, so you can't overestimate.
Talk about a god figure. All right, chill out there, Freddi.
I know.
The omniscient being.
I'm talking about it with my therapist right now. Just so arrogant. I'm like, arrogant? It doesn't sound like me at all.
Okay, that came to a crescendo, came to a peak, and then you were like, no more, or?
Yeah. I moved to Berlin. I went to film school, which already kind of loosened me up a little bit because I was around I don't know, I was more intensely around people that have very different worldviews and are very open about partying and drugs and sex, and I studied at a normal university, and it was just a little more tame, the people that I hung out with there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that questioned a lot of my things, and then I don't know, it's a process of being is it really important if Jesus historically was the Son of God, or is it maybe okay if that's a metaphor?
Yeah.
And then I came around on the sex thing. I'm like, yeah, I just don't think it matters to God. And then I'm like, who is God?
Okay, I love it.
So I deconstructed it until there was really very little left.
So it was more of a kind of, was it a kind of loss of faith, or was it more a kind of just sick of the lifestyle, or maybe amalgamation of the two?
Yeah, I think it was both. I really wanted to get out of the Christian circles because I just felt I did feel quite restricted after a while, and I was it's just very us and them, and it's who's with us and who's not, even if they don't want. But it's just so ingrained in that culture, and it was also, I don't know, I just think I wanted to experience the world in a new way without the moral paradigms that I grew up with. And I was what would it feel like if I didn't know the answer to certain things, if I didn't know what was right or wrong, or if it's for me, a big thing was to be I don't know about religion. Totally. I don't know about God. I used to think I knew, but I've decided that I don't want to have an answer to that for a while, at least. I really don't know what's going to happen, but I'm I need to not have answers for a while.
I get that. And I really appreciate you kind of sharing that, because I know you talk a lot about it in your comedy and stuff. But I'm very much the same, of a similar persuasion as you are now. We just don't know. No one knows.
Yeah.
I look at it from a little bit more of a definitely an outside looking in, talk about arrogance. For me, something, a rule of thumb that I've always went by is it's almost just as naive to believe in God as it is to empirically deny the existence of one. Either or, man, they're both of this kind of different parts of the spectrum. Totally. No one knows. I don't know. No one. It's all theory, man. Maybe there is a fucking God. I assume there probably isn't, but that's more to do with my general socialization than anything else.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If a giant hand came down and started picking up believers like the fucking rapture, would I be surprised? And if someone was beside me going, oh my god, about that dude, people have been talking about this for 2,000 years, how did you believe that? Why are you so, how can you possibly not think that this might happen,
Yeah.
It's obviously so unlikely that it would happen, but I'm kind of, I suspend my disbelief in most things in life, to be honest,
Yeah.
I don't, because no one knows.
No one knows, and I think it was, for me, a great lesson in humility, and I think, I just realized I was kind of wrong about a lot of things that I very passionately argued with a lot of people, and so, and there's also, shame, because I think in our society, I would say, in our culture, in our society, is that knowing things and being sure of things is a really big currency of self-confidence, and
True.
it's especially now even more, and with the whole conservative and liberal gap, and everybody's so sure of their persuasion, and I know how to interpret, you know, values and identities better than you do. And yeah, so
Okay, so an element of that, then an element of kind of shame and kind of humiliation.
yeah,
From,
but like
from your lack of knowledge, or more knowledge about something that wasn't quite dynamic with the modern day, your own kind of
yeah, I think
lifestyle, socialness.
I think it was shame of being like, oh, I was wrong, which is embarrassing as an adult. I was like 35 when I kind of lost my faith, and then like that brings a humility, being like, okay, I hope I will never be as sure of something again, because there's no point.
So huge lesson learned, man.
Oh, so glad.
So glad.
Love the shame.
Without getting too deep into it, are your parents cool with it? Were they like, here man, were we respect, or was there a bit of a kind of clash?
Yeah, I mean, I have siblings who are not religious at all, so it wasn't like, but it was a big connecting factor, and I do think, working through it with my therapist right now, that it was a big bond with my parents as well, and so like letting that go and like feeling like maybe I'm like disappointing them, or not being like the good Christian girl anymore for them.
I just felt like I went to church for a very small period of my life, but it was
like 2 months.
yeah, it was like 3 months or something of intense.
I love it when people say to me like, I was religious too. I was 14, but then I realized it was all bullshit. Yeah. I'm like,
but no, I didn't realise faith was all bullshit. It was because it was like a bandage that was put. It was kind of like everything, all the answers and everything good is here, and any problems that is going on in your life will be all healed up, and you'll be patched up and patted in the bum and ready to go. And it just wasn't like that, man. It was just more of a very intense atmosphere. We talked about it before. The time that I was in, I'm not really even sure the level of Christianity that it was, but it certainly was Christianity. It was, I fucking don't know, man. But anyway, they were talking in tongues.
Oh yeah, I did that. Yeah.
One time when we were coming in,
that's scary shit. For the uninitiated.
As a 10-year-old, 11-year-old.
You think they're crazy, right?
Yeah.
And
still do.
Fair enough, yeah.
But and it was just seeing people that you know, and like your auntie and uncle and stuff talking away in tongues, and I was like the language of the dead or the ancient or whatever the fuck it is. It was I clearly didn't learn so much, but anyway, no, I think, you know, I don't really have a problem with faith, man. You know,
I mean, you're quite a spiritual person yourself.
Yeah, a little bit. Like I in the romantic sense, and I don't mean like as like in like partnership with anyone. I've kind of got a kind of romantic idea of the world, and kind of like a little bit of a which can sometimes often trap me into the world of naivety. But that's my own little, sometimes like kind of dreaming off and kind of thinking that everything is nice and shiny and fluffy, and then it's like.
Yeah, but also sometimes things are.
Sometimes things are.
I mean, it's very subjective, right? The way we see the world is basically dependent on if we had like a good night's sleep or something.
Yeah, totally. Or the fucking full moon and its gravitational pulls on 70% of the water that's in your body and all that. Anyway, but yeah, I tried a little bit of meditation.
Yeah.
I tried to go to. Did we talk before or after that? It was after that.
I think after you went on your silent retreat that you did not enjoy. The way through.
No, I didn't enjoy. I really tried my hardest, and I know I did, because I reached. There was a cliff edge, and it was either go over or walk back. I could literally see the cliff edge of where it was taking me, and I was like, I need to step back. You know, I was like, I couldn't go any further, and what they were wanting me to achieve. Within me, you know. It's
hard to say if that's like, is that like. Brainwashing, is that wrong, like what they're trying to do, or do you need to push yourself harder? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally do.
Is that crossing over to the dark side?
Well, listen, I mean, I fuck knows what that was over there, because I was already in a pretty dark place, and I had to step back into the dark to go back through the light. It wasn't like, hey, there's big shiny fluffy clouds and stuff over here. I'd already went through this journey of strangeness, you know, and deep receded memories and different the ways that I'd acted in life and all that. But it was a wee bit dangerous. It was, I mean, I can really only argue in two aspects. They're both kind of right in what you say. Like, it would have been, I think it was a bit dangerous of them to coax me into going over the cliff edge to kind of give me the illusion everything would be alright.
Can you be a little more precise about what that cliff edge would be? It was a little ominous.
Yeah, is it ominous? Yeah, it is ominous. I don't know, I was getting pushed emotionally because this silent retreat was, you were all alone. There was no, you couldn't talk to anyone, you couldn't even make eye contact with anyone.
That's
so
crazy.
there was just no, I was just within myself. So I think I would have, when I talk about a cliff edge, I was really on the verge of breaking something like inside, like some sort of like not like no going back type thing. It wasn't really it wasn't really like a door was open and it was just for me to step through. I felt like I'd went through a bunch of doors, and then this kind of little drop off point was like I just really couldn't see anything beyond that. And yeah, a lot of people might say step into it and just like let yourself go.
I know.
Like the fucking the Lost Boys or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
But I was like, I'm not ready for that, and I knew that. And I told, you know, and I was like, I'm not ready right now for whatever it is that's in there, because I'm happy just to have dealt with what I've dealt with thus far and bail out.
Yeah,
And there's
good
me
for
fucking
you.
hopping a barbed wire fence like fucking The Great Escape with a fucking backpack on, hailing down a taxi. It wasn't quite like that, but it was something similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so there's I like to do a little segment of the show where I ask you what your favourite science fact is. It could be anything. It could be anything. It could be as minor or as deep or as whatever. I don't know. I gave you this question before, so maybe you've looked into it. Do you have any sort of interesting scientific fact?
Yeah, I thought about it and I immediately thought of something called the negativity bias, which is like we dive into psychology, which is actually quite, I think to me, like that's the type of science that's closest to spirituality, because it explains like how we work and how happiness works. So the idea is that negative thoughts are like Velcro to our psyche and positive thoughts are like Teflon. So the negative thoughts are experiences that we have, like they stick to us like immediately, and positive thoughts, they kind of slide away and they're quite hard to contain. And it comes from, like, biologically, that comes from it's a protective mechanism. So if we're in a bad situation, it's the fight or flight. You know, our body is like, ooh, you got to get out of here. And it's like important for us to remember these bad situations so we won't get into it again. And the positive situations for survival aren't as important. But
that's interesting.
Yeah.
One thing springs to mind of, like, let's say through the evolutionary process of human beings and animals, where they're eating like a fermented grape, and part of that positive thing would be, wow, that made me feel really good. But part of the negative thing is that made me feel like shit the next day.
Yeah, that's good. That's like on the edge.
It's like on the edge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Why does it always have to relate to alcohol with me? I've got some proper severe issues, man, that need addressed.
You're just an expert. It's just your expert opinion.
So yeah, okay. So it's very. I think my negative is it negativity bias? Did you call it? Must be turned up to 11, man. Like, how many times do you fucking wake up in the morning and you just think like how all the weird things that you've said or done and they stick, and it's difficult.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, in order to, that's why, like, all these like new agey kind of gratitude, it's not even new agey, it's more like mindfulness stuff. It's like all these gratitude exercises are so important because it takes like at least, I think, 12 seconds for a positive experience or thought to stick and make you happy.
12 seconds?
So you have to concentrate on a positive thing, or like...
Orgasms don't even last 12 seconds.
Well, exactly, so they're no good.
They're no good.
That's why you need multiple.
God damn, women, got it again. There you go. Got it all.
No, but I think even like being like cuddled for 12, like that already releases a lot of happy hormones.
Oh, nice.
Right? The oxytocin?
Yeah.
I think so. That's why that actually makes people happy. Like, I don't think you even need strictly just like the orgasms.
Okay, just strictly the orgasms. Yeah, that'd be a horrible time for all involved, really, if it was just strictly the orgasms.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And what I like about it is that nature basically tells you, oh my God, I have this amazing thing. It's going to protect you from all the evil. Trust me, I got this. And we're like, no. We figured a lot of things out. Like, we're not in danger by, like, saber-toothed tigers anymore.
Yeah.
We just need, like, to be happy and, like, have sunlight, but nature doesn't do anything for that. And so we have to, like, work super hard.
Absolutely, man. Like,
it's not quite fair.
It's not quite fair. Like, how do you cope with that then, with the negativity bias? Like, what do you?
I mean, that's why I left, like, organized religion, but like I said in the beginning, I do have a meditation coach right now who's, like, trying to, like, I just wanted to, like, really kind of learn a little bit of, like, mindfulness stuff. And, it's, like, gratitude, it's, like, self-compassion, just, like, kind of learn how to give positive thoughts and intentions to yourself.
Do you know what I'm really bad at? I'm really bad at being, like, a loner, right? Like, I've noticed this particularly over lockdown, right? Is that a lot of people I talk to, they go to yoga with other people, or they've got, like, a little meditation person that they talk to, or they've got a therapist, or they've got podcasts with other people. So this is definitely an exception.
Yeah.
I always fucking do stuff on my own. I think
But
I need to get shit. I need
too.
to get other. I need to reach out to people a little bit more, to let people a little bit more in.
Yeah, but that's, like, a big part of, like, making yourself feel good, to have, like, connection and feel like.
But most people are dicks. I think that's a bit of an issue.
You should consider your circle of friends.
Well, I'm meaning,
in the best way possible.
I mean, there's a reason why I get in touch with the people that I do, right?
Yeah.
Like yourself and Jono, who done this yesterday, and, like, a bunch of other, like, closer friends and stuff. But the general outside, I mean, there's only so much you can use them without becoming that needy friend. And then it's like they're just, like, cancelling your WhatsApp call, and, like,
but maybe,
and you're not getting the double blue ticks, and it's like, what the fuck is going on?
You have to turn that shit off anyway.
Totally, man. Absolutely.
But what is so bad if they think that you're needy?
Is that a bad thing? I've never really thought. I thought that was generally a bad thing.
But maybe that's just the reality in that moment, that you're needy right now. You need somebody. I
had a good friend say to me once that it's if you don't reach out for help, that's actually just as selfish as reaching out for help, or something like that. No, because it's like if you're just sitting there on your own and you're putting other people that could help you out of reach. Like, stop being so selfish.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I have the same problem. Like, I don't love it, and I would love if my friends always, like, knew when I was lonely and, reached out. Because I also feel like I'm a little bit of a loner, like, because I'm a writer, which you do by yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm a stand-up comedian. I mean, you hang out with people, but it's still, like, alone. Like, you write by yourself, you're on stage by yourself, and I live by myself, and I really like it. Yeah. But, yeah, definitely lockdown has been a challenge in that way. And so I've had to be proactive and be like, hey, do you want to hang out? I'm going to go insane otherwise. I know. Yeah. But it's not fun. It's like a big...
I'm a wee bit worried that if I continue on this path of, like, kind of lonesomeness, lonesomeness is the wrong word, because I'm not a lonely person, I just spend a lot of time on my own. Yeah. That I might be a little bit socially awkward coming out the other end. Like, especially lately, that winter's setting in, it's like, 5 o'clock, book, jumper, cardigan, and then you cook something, you fall asleep, you wake up, kind of rinse and repeat.
But if you're happy with that, that's fine.
I am happy with that.
Well, then it's not such an issue. I think if you were like getting really depressed and you didn't know how to get out of it. Yeah, okay. But if you're happy by yourself, that's great.
I think in
People
the moment,
are just different.
I think in the moment I'm fine, but I concentrate sometimes a little bit too much on the future or what will be, which is just useless and pointless, really. Yeah. But I can't help myself get into that place sometimes, and that's why meditation helps, because it's all about. It does, yeah. It's all about just hey, back here.
Moment.
Yeah, get right here. Okay, so. Yeah. So I was going to say if you have a question to ask me, but we've already been there. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm kind of just going to slowly wrap it up. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just going to kind of slowly wrap it up with. I always like to find out if anyone has any strange habits or weird habits that they have maybe taken on from parents, or something that you kind of friends have maybe said, man, you do that weird thing quite a lot, or anything you've noticed in yourself.
Oh, that's so interesting. I chew my lip a lot, and
Right.
I'm like genuinely interested if other people, because I always have like bits of skin on my lips, and I don't know if that's a control thing,
What, like,
or if I just have like more bits of skin on my lips than other people, but I think it's a control thing.
so it's a control thing. Maybe you have bits of skin on your lips because you're doing the control thing.
Yeah,
It's kind of
maybe.
drying them out.
Like it annoys me. I'm not even sure if, I don't think anybody said anything, but I'm just like, I think like my friends are too polite. And then I just realized I have another pet peeve. Like when I realize that I swallow really loudly.
Do you?
Well, no, sometimes, but that just means that I'm dehydrated. And as soon as you drink more water, like it's fine.
Interesting.
But I'm just like, ooh, whenever that happens.
Do you hear that yourself?
Yeah. And I'm like disgusted by it.
And there was one thing that almost drove me insane, was when I was doing the meditation thing, that I was sitting next to a guy who was like a really loud swallower.
But that was, I bet it's just dehydration.
It must have been, because we're sitting there for 4 hours. He's poor guy. Sometimes I would just think about this guy for like an hour and just be like, fucking
oh my
stop
god.
swallowing.
Oh my god.
I know. Okay, fair enough, man. Loud swallows. Okay, I haven't heard you swallow loudly once since you've been here, so.
Yeah, but I drank water.
I've been
I'm like
feeding
more,
you booze.
I'm more aware of it now because I just realized it.
Okay, I wish we had 2 lapel mics so that I could like kind of just turn up the volume.
The dry swallow. But isn't it also like as a barman that you just like notice like weird drinking habits or like tics of people?
Well, there's different people that drink different ways. There's the kind of, there's the sipper that will drink their beer, their little 0.3 beer over the course of like 2 hours. Yeah.
I just don't like beer that much.
Well, in any alcohol, but then you've got your gluggers, and those ones you got to be careful with. It's great how like different people can like have to get drunk differently.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and how they're like how sometimes when I drink, although I do get drunk right from time to time, I never get really shit faced, man. I never get like immobilized or like I'm slurring my words and you can't understand what I'm saying. But I know so many people. I'm a fun. I never get argumentative. I'll never like. I'm always like fun. I'm always like, hey, let's do stuff. Blah blah blah. But I know guys that were in the bar that I work in, and I can time it within 3.5 pints before they go, and you're like, oh jeez, I don't have time for this, man. I can't talk to you,
Yeah.
And they're like, try to roll a cigarette, and they're kind of innocent enough because they're not harming anyone.
Sure.
Maybe themselves without them knowing it or whatever. It's not like they're puking or pissing themselves or anything like that. They're just enjoying some drinks, and it's their way of enjoying drinks. And then you have your people that come in and just like do shots.
Yeah. People come into us just to do shots. And it's like drinking an espresso in an Italian bar in the morning, and then they go out again.
Do you know my latest idea is to like
a shot bar.
A shot bar,
really?
but to convert Dixie clothes into a little shot bar.
You're doing nothing for humanity. It's like a terrible idea.
I think it's a great idea, and I just put like loads of little Dixie clothes around, and then convert them and just have like 5-6 bottles of booze in the back, and it's just like a euro a shot.
Yeah.
There you go, on your way. Thank you. Clean the shot glasses. Bye bye.
So you don't care about people like enjoying a drink in a nice atmosphere. You're just like, no, I'm just good.
Well, yeah, the latter.
Like, you see how moralistic I still am.
So you don't give a shit about people. You just want their money.
And it's not even that much money. It's like I don't think you can make that much money with it.
Oh, I've done the calculations. I wouldn't be sitting here if I hadn't done the calculations.
I didn't know you were that kind of guy.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to have a business venture of any kind, you kind of want to.
It's like your messy hair. It's just like
just like just pluck it out.
It just doesn't match like Excel. So.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. Man, that was lovely.
That was lovely. And I just finished the drink.
Nice, perfect timing. Just one last wee thing. Why don't you tell the hundreds and thousands of people that have subscribed to my YouTube to tell them what you're up to, tell them how they can contact you so that they can creep on you or follow you on Instagram, etc.
Yeah, if you want to see like the weird funny videos and like a couple of stand-up things that I've done, it's easiest on Instagram. It's Freddie with an I _ Gralle, Gralle. Yeah, meet me there.
All links will be available below here or wherever you're going to see them. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Freddi.
Thank you, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Excuse me, where can I get myself a drink?